Hi, my name's SNES Man, and I'm going to take you back to a simpler, better time, called the 16-bit era of gaming, when the Super Nintendo reigned. You know, everyone just has fond memories of the Super Nintendo, loves that era, but I'm going to tell you one thing the market did not like about that era. It was the Super Scope. This giant hunk of a peripheral, bazooka, was not very popular with consumers. I wonder why. Well, there are some serious design flaws, but there are some really cool things about it. And I'm going to tell you both of those. Here we have a big light gun shaped like a bazooka. It was designed to fire at the screen with wireless technology. For the time it was cool. The main problem though is it's really bulky and the buttons are limited. You have the A button, start button, and a B button trigger at the very end, used for shooting games. Pretty much all the games were shooting games, because it was a gun. I guess that makes sense. A really annoying thing though is that this power button has no red light to indicate when it's on and off. Thus you could waste the batteries indefinitely. Speaking of batteries, everyone that you know that has used the Super Scope will complain that you need 6 AA's and they don't last that long. Kind of a bummer. Like the Wii, it has a wireless sensor that you plug in, which is pretty cool. But really, the Super Scope thought it was just the biggest thing. Just check out this commercial.
You're looking at the next breakthrough for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Introducing Super Scope 6. Remote-powered and laser-accurate. Precise to a single television pixel. It comes with 6 great games, and it's yours for under $60, all of which gets you into the game. Like never before. Super Scope 6, only for Super Nintendo.
I am speechless. Talk about overselling. Well, still, Super Scope 6 is an alright game. So this is our packaged-in game. The first game everyone gets. Here I'm going to show you the first game. Don't laugh at me for playing with this cheesy thing. Now our first exciting game. Blow up missiles as they fly by. Hope that was worth your $60, kiddies. Woohoo! No, but seriously, the rest of this game is just a collection of these little mini games. They're a little fun, and really they're just made to show the Super Scope capabilities. And in my book, the quantity over quality is okay for a packaged title. We get a few more games on this cartridge though, like this Tetris game, and my favorite, Mole Patrol. I'm gonna mow down some moles. Monty moles. This is my favorite part of the Super Scope 6 personally, the Mole Patrol. Essentially, it's just whack-a-mole in outer space, but it's really fun to shoot down these annoying little creatures and watch them die. One frustrating thing though is the Super Scope's not always accurate, but wait, what did the commercial say?
And laser accurate. Precise to a single television pixel. A single television pixel.
So, the Super Scope isn't perfect, and neither is this game, but let's move on to another one I have. Here's Metal Combat Falcon's Revenge, a fun little first-person shooter game against robots. You fight one-on-one robot matches. Ooh.
1993, Nintendo presents.
That was the awesomest digitized voice ever. Metal Combat Falcon's Revenge. Only the Super Scope could make selecting options awkward. You have to shoot the screen to do every option. Like UN Squadron, this game has an anime setup with minor cutscenes including dialogue. The dialogue is actually kind of entertaining in this. It's not anything advanced, but the characters are kind of funny and it's fun to see what taunts they come up with. The robot battles turn out to be really simplistic. It does still take some strategy to beat them though. You have to fire at certain parts of the robot and wait for open areas to attack. So it's not all just button mashing, but button mashing plays its role, of course. Oh no, how will I kill this robot? I don't know. Maybe press A over and over like every Super Scope game. The graphics for the separate robots and the backgrounds look great. The only flaw with the graphics is that the explosions can sometimes look really choppy. What about the gameplay though? Well, the game can get a little old. It's just robot fighting, so really it's only made for short stretches of playing, and thus the replay value is not that great for this game. Still, pretty fun to pop in once in a while. Die, robot! Prepare to be terminated. I'm sure you're wondering though, doesn't this peripheral have to have some good games on it, some really good games, you know, to justify the price? Well, not really. But there is one game that is most famous and that you've been waiting for. Yoshi Safari, the best Super Scope game! What's strange is that barely anyone knows about this game anymore. but it's really actually pretty good, and it's the only Mario shooting game. I think that alone gives it some merit. When I first heard about this game, I thought, what, Mario with a gun? But yes, it's true. Your childhood hero has turned into a gun-toting murderer. Let's pop it in. For once in this game, you don't start off with saving Princess Peach. Yes, this is the first game to refer to her as Princess Peach instead of Toadstool. Pretty big milestone. But still, the storyline freaking sucks. Get some jewels, save King Prince Fred, whatever, I don't know. Skip it. When you're choosing options, one thing that you'll notice is the 1-player or 2-player. 2-player just plays as Yoshi, it's not that great, so don't get all excited. Like in Mega Man, you can choose the stages from the get-go. Pretty cool.
Okay, here's Mario in a first-person shooter.
Right off the bat, good game. The graphics are just gorgeous. It looks like Mario Kart with the Mode 7 stages, except much more well-defined. Essentially every stage is just mowing down waves of Goombas and different enemies flying at you. It's kind of weird to think of Mario as a mass murderer. Also, you have to jump on jump pads, which is really obnoxious. If you don't, Yoshi gets shocked all the time and makes a hurt face at you. There are a lot of mini-bosses like this Hammer Bro. They're really easy, but what annoys me is that you can't really dodge attacks. You're really stuck with just holding down A and trying to mow them down. Now about the real bosses. They're all Koopa kids and giant robots. I know that doesn't sound great, but they're really pretty good battles. They're easy but creative. What did tick me off though was that the timer can run out, and unless you get a special item, you will die when you run out of time. And for some of the bosses, it just doesn't give you enough time and it gets really frustrating. The boss battles probably take more time than it does to go through the stages. The stages, you're on a rail and you can't control Yoshi much at all except jumping, so you get done with them really quick. The main flaw though becomes apparent very quickly. This is a really easy game, especially when you turn on Turbo. You can just mow through waves of enemies, and the only really hard parts of the game will be bosses later on. That, and you only get like 12 levels, so you can blow through this thing in like an hour or two. Another problem is with the Super Scope's accuracy. There seems to be a common problem I find that when you shoot near the bottom of the screen, it won't register, and often I'll accidentally shoot Yoshi and lower my health on accident. But that's about all I have to say about this game, Yoshi's Safari. But how does this compare to Mario's other great games? It's not up to scratch. There's not much replay value and it's a little shallow. Still, I find a lot of enjoyment in it. It's a little mindless and simple, but I think it's really fun, and I think it's so cool that Mario was ever in a shooting game. Yoshi Safari ended up probably being the most popular game on the Super Scope, and the best one. But still, it didn't salvage its sales. I think the reason for this is because there weren't very many Super Scope games. Here's a list of all the games that even have compatibility, and out of those, only 9 of them were full games, and Battle Clash and Metal Combat were from the same series, so think of how few games there were to choose from. That wasn't the only problem with it either. The hardware was bulky and didn't provide for much variety of games. It also had a really bad battery life, which really killed it. People weren't ready to take the risk and buy this thing for $60 when they weren't sure how many new games would come out. Nowadays, you can get it cheaper than the original price, but it's still a little expensive considering you don't get very many games for your payment. So what is my final verdict? Is it worth the money nowadays to get it? I would say no. I don't think it's worth it to spend, a big chunk of money for something that you don't get much game time out of. But if you're a collector or a weird person like me who likes old things like this, then it's fun for a couple games. But for the average buyer of games, I wouldn't recommend it. Thank you for watching. This has been SNES Man.